But like I've got two kids. I've got a little girl and a boy. Now, if I'd brought them up, like from, they say, I'd give my son to a devout Catholic, or, you know, brought him up to not like Islam or like that. And when I brought my daughter up, and I give her away to a devout Muslim, 20 years' time she'd have been walking about with a burqa on. He wouldn't have. It wouldn't because they were born that way, it's because they were educated that way. Mm-hmm. Do you see what I mean? And that's what, yeah. We'll never have any peace until we educate the kids that everybody, there is no religion, you know.
Well, it's like, if you travel the world, I mean, I haven't been to a lot of countries, but I've been to some Muslim countries, wherever you go,
they treat you all right.
People are courteous, they're respectful, they want to know about your culture, you want to know about their culture, but then you watch the news, they're trying to put man against man.
Oh, have you seen what the Muslims has done now?
Sorry?
That's like me daddy, he'll sit and he'll read the paper and he'll go, oh, I've seen what them Muslims has done now. And I said, well, what's a Muslim done to you? It's just what you, like you say, it's what you read in the paper, what you see on the television. That's your view, unless you go out and you actually meet people from different races and religions. I mean, then you realise it's just a load of rubbish.
You know, I've got my best friend's in the RAF, he's wing commander. And he'll string them up. He thinks they're shit. And I'll say to him, you know, he started watching my show actually. Yes, sir.
Since we're on religion,
the few groans here.
Now, the Shah of Saudi and the Bushes are like that.
Yeah. It was the Bin Ladens were like that with the Bushes as well.
Yeah. You know, it's a.
There was someone sent me a good clip the other day. It was Benazir Bhutto being interviewed by David Frost, obviously before she was murdered, and she says to him. She names someone who murdered someone, and she says, oh, he was also the person who murdered Osama bin Laden.
And he also had dealings with Omar Sheikh, the man who murdered Osama bin Laden. Now I know that having dealings...
And then just continues on talking. You can see the whole thing. But if you watch what they put out on air, the BBC, they cut that bit out.
Yeah.
That she said that she knows the person who murdered bin Laden. Well, that could be why she was bumped off.
That's why they've never caught him. He's dead.
Exactly. I mean, before Gordon Brown got booted out of power, he was there going, I think we should be looking for Osama bin Laden in Pakistan. It's just hilarious. But he's been told to say that by the Americans, to start putting that message out.
Yeah.
I was just saying it's just a shame there's not more people like you that will come out and tell the truth, because I've had my eyes like really wide open, haven't I? Because I was like really quite ignorant when I tell like everything to news and everything like that, and now I've got a total different look on life. It's
a good point you make, because the question is, how do you grow this movement of people who aren't trusting the mainstream media? And I don't have an answer to that. I'm doing all I can, but all I would say is that if you do try and, because you'll say to your friend what I'm saying, and they'll say you're mad, right? So you can't tell someone the information. I would recommend you say, oh, I saw this interesting thing last night. You really want to watch it. I'm not sure if it's true. Don't lecture them.
Oh no, I don't.
No, I'm not saying you do, but I'm saying this is
the
technique. Actually, I'm not saying that. Someone who I know who is a police officer. Someone who I know is a police officer. He's just started watching my program, and he's intrigued by the 9/11 stuff. And you see, 9/11, I think, could be the key, because that's probably the thing you can convince people on. There's so much evidence that it was an inside job; it's just untrue. So that's what I would point people to. Find loose change in films like that. Just say, watch that on the net. because you're not being told the truth. And if you think about it, all of the military action now in the Middle East, it's been justified by 9/11.
I mean, I got it off
on a lie.
like my husband, because obviously he watches like all the time, and he says, "Oh, you should just like give it like a chance." So I did, and I totally agree with everything that you say. Totally.
Thank you.
Throw one more in the mix now. I'll shut up.
Sure.
With regards to this whole movement, if you like, opening people's eyes, where do you envisage it going? I mean, it's got to go somewhere, and obviously putting it across to as many people as possible. It's trying to keep the momentum going. What's your message to people to keep it going?
To just spread the word. Because there's no way it's ever going to come through the TV and media, because they've got a stranglehold on it. It has to come from the roots upwards. And the problem is, as long as people have got enough food and they've got a house and a car, they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. So I actually ponder this question every day of my life. How can we get this across to other people? And
I've even thought about giving out CDs in the middle of the monument, you know, just like downloading them free and just giving stuff out.
We meet here in this room on the third Sunday of every month at 2 p.m. It's a North East Truth group.
Yes.
We've got a website, just Google it.
Yeah, I'll just repeat that. There is a group in the northeast of England called North East Truth. There's a link on my website to that group, and they meet here once a month. And all of these issues are discussed in that group. They've got their own radio program. In fact, they're linked to other truth groups around 2 p.m. on
third Sunday of every month.
Third Sunday of every month here. And when I can, I've been to a few of the meetings, but I can't always get. But the third Sunday of every month, North East Truth. The radio program is fantastic. I think it's 9 o'clock on Tuesdays, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So you can listen to that online, their radio show. And they've had Ian Crane on and a lot of other people. So there are groups, and it can only come from the bottom up. It's because mainstream TV wouldn't allow. I'll just explain one reason why I'm trying to record all of this is because every single studio debate on television is orchestrated. It's planned. Question time. Everyone is vetted. Every debate you see on TV, you won't get a genuine view from a man off the street. There's no way they would dare have. They used to. Can anyone remember Friday Night Live on ITV? Was it ITV? It was a Northeast discussion program on every week, and it went out live, and you'd put your hand up and your view would be on TV. There's no way they would do that now. The audiences are vetted, and that's why I wanted to film this debate, because as long as it's recorded okay, I'll put this out on my TV program. Yes, sir.
Hey, Rich. With some more recent work, you showed at the interval before about the ball and the 9/11 attacks.
Yeah.
Have you had any feedback from the 9/11 truth movement or anybody across the pond, whether it be negative or positive?
Yes, I've had loads of feedback, 90% positive. It's another biggie. Because
from
you see,
the truth movement itself.
Not really from the truth movement. You tend to get people who are involved who will come and give you their opinion without saying I'm from the truth movement. You see, it's the whole no planes theory, which most people won't touch. They won't go near it. Alex Jones, for example, he won't go near it, and there's a question as to why. Some people think that the no planes theory is trying to subvert the truth movement, whereas other people think, well, people who have infiltrated the truth movement deliberately keep the no planes theory out, because that's actually what happened. So,
Well, it was an excellent piece of work you did, Richard. Yeah. I think you deserve applause for it.
how are we doing for time? 10:30. It's 10:30 p.m. I mean, do you want to go for another drink? I'm happy to stand here till 11 o'clock and answer questions. I just need to check the computer. Yes, madam.
Could we ask what your take was about de Menezes, about the assassination?
De Menezes, yeah.
Well, you think he knew something, and he had to be got rid of?
Yeah.
Or?
Well, it was sort of about 2 weeks after 7/7 that he was murdered, and he wasn't just.
I mean, it was overkill, pure
overkill.
overkill.
It was total overkill. He was an electrician. it smells to me that he was involved, either he knew about the placement of the bombs in 7/7 or he was involved.
That's what I think, yeah, yeah.
That's very, obviously, you can't prove that, but that's...
I mean, there's very little out there about it, because I've tried to sort of look into that, but there's...
Yeah.
There's very little to say evidentially that possibly he was involved in planting bombs, or you know.
No one actually knows who he worked for when before he was murdered. Yeah.
Will it never come out who he worked for?
I don't think so.
I've never found out who's. Yeah.
We're going to go over to Ireland on 11th of the 11th, because there's a guy he calls himself Muad'Dib. He made the film 7/7 Ripple Effect, and he's going to, the British government are trying to extradite him from Ireland to stand.
He's trying to belittle him.
Yeah, I mean, all he did.
Is that why he was on bail on the show?
It's just unbelievable. I'll explain what happened. He made a film about 7/7, what he believes to be the truth, and I agree with the film wholeheartedly. The alleged terrorists were patsies who thought they were taking part in a mock terror drill, and they were then murdered. That's what his film said. And the 7/7 conspiracy files, the BBC thing, the whole point of that was to try and debunk his film. These friends of the alleged terrorists were on trial for helping them in, I think, April 2009. So he was outraged, so he sent a couple of copies of his film to the court, say this is evidence which should be submitted to the court. 7 guys came to his house, arrested him. He was banged up. He was banged up for 23 days for trying to pervert the course of justice. And he wasn't sending films to jury members. He sent one to the judge and one to the jury foreman saying, please consider this as evidence. And it was never submitted as evidence. The 3 men were acquitted, and the British government are trying to extradite them from Ireland to stand charges for trying to pervert the course of justice. So we're going to attend that trial in Ireland. We're going to interview him. I mean, there are issues about him. He has written some peculiar book.
I will let me know when the trial is. I'll be there for sure.
11th of the 11th at the Supreme Court of Ireland. I mean, it's just the most preposterous case you've ever heard in your life. It's like me sending a copy of Silent Killers to a trial, saying, Judge, can you consider this evidence? And then me getting arrested by 7 guys just for sending a DVD to a court.
Bloody ridiculous.
23 days in prison he had while he was waiting for the hearings.
Do you know these supposed people who had died at 7/7 and now miraculously walking the streets?
I'm not aware of any. I did try, and there's one woman, I can't remember her name, who's lost her legs, and she's a big campaigner and stuff. I contacted her, will you come on my show, be interviewed? And you don't get responses from anyone, you know. But it's a whole another area, 7/7, which, I mean, I interviewed Nick Colostrom, who wrote the book Behind the Veil of 7/7, superb book. He's a really nice chap. God, if you were an investigative journalist wanting something to investigate, if you wanted 7/7, there's so much you could do.
Yeah, the train that they were supposed to be on was cancelled.
Yeah, and then when the runner came
they
out,
couldn't have been there at any time.
Yeah.
That and the bus being redirected.
The young lad, he was known as the Gentle Giant. He's playing cricket the night before with his mates. You know,
yeah, we've just been talking.
The other one, the alleged lead Muslim terrorist, used to walk school children to his primary school in the morning. He used to walk around the houses, picking them up and walking them to school.
We've heard also...
He was like a pillar of the community.
Yeah. We've also heard that the leader, sorry I can't remember his name, was supposed to have gone to the Houses of Parliament as a guest of MP.
He did.
Before then, I mean...
I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Yes, Mohammed Siddiqui Khan.
Yeah,
that's it.
he was actually friendly with the MP.
Yeah, he was. He went to the Houses of Parliament. He was given a tour of the Houses of Parliament.
I personally think they were set up like...
Yeah, well, the guy who set them up was called Rashid Aswat, and he's in Broadmoor now, because he's an MI6 agent, Muslim, but was working for MI6, and I believe he was the one who lured them into this plot, and he telephoned them 20 times on the morning of 7/7 when it happened. He got on a plane and left the country, and he was the one who's got them involved.
Yeah.
There's a lady called Marion Hyman who died on 7/7, and I'll just briefly explain that. She worked at Canary Wharf, and she was travelling from sort of north-west London on the tube. She was evacuated off at King's Cross because the bombs had gone off. And she telephoned her dad to say, I'm going to go to work at Canary Wharf. I'm going to get there regardless because they're telling people to go home. 2 minutes later, the bus at Tavistock Square exploded, which is miles the other way. Well, it's not miles, but it's the opposite direction to where she was headed. She turns up on the bus. Her family were looking for her for a whole week. They didn't know where she was. They were petrified, and the authorities, well, we don't know. A week later, turns out she was on the bus, nowhere near where she was going. Now, she also telephoned a friend at work after the bus had exploded and said, I'm coming into work at Canary Wharf. Now, the 3 alleged terrorists, it is said that they headed to Canary Wharf when they were trying to flee. Now, I think she's probably spoken to them and got wind of the plot and maybe even took them to Canary Wharf. So they've took her out with the 3 young Muslim lads, and they've thought, what can we do with her? I know, we'll just say she was on the bus. So they've murdered her. They've murdered
The bomb
her.
damage come from under the carriage, which
I mean,
if you had a good lie,
the type of explosive used the CCTV footage that they keep showing on the BBC News. It's got all the timestamps removed. You can't make out the people,
real
and they keep
through the
brainwashing
body.
people that these Muslims went through. They weren't there. It's a lie.
there's just that many. If it was on a television program, there's that much evidence to prove they were innocent.
None of the footage shown up. Watch on the news when they show the clips of 7/7 and see if the timestamp's there. None of the timestamps are there. There's only one image, which is the photograph, which was
At
faked.
Luton Station.
Yeah, at Luton Station. That's got the timestamp on it.
Which is dodgy
They've
photo
added them
now.
in. You can, if you've got Photoshop, you can see where they've added them in.
Yeah, you can see the rail going through his
Yeah.
chest.
Yeah.
Yeah, always different.
You see, that alone, the fact that the authorities have used fabricated evidence and tried to
You think they
course
would have
of
done it
justice
better,
is
wouldn't you?
enough. There's no way, if there was a trial, they would be found guilty at all.
Yeah.
No way. Which is why they're trying to steer away from a
Yeah.
proper inquest. The
Right.
inquest they're having now is to try and find out if the authorities could have done anything to prevent it. So they've set the terms of the inquest to ignore the real problem.
What happened? Yeah.
But no, it's
See, the same thing happened with Lockerbie bombing and Al-Mugrahi.
how long have we got?
It was a ploy to get
Yeah, the
to allow Reagan to bomb Gaddafi.
yeah.
I knew people who were inside with Al-Mugrahi,
Yeah.
and they all said he was innocent, that he should never have been.
Yeah. And the reason why they let him out, because he had cancer, well, he didn't have cancer, but they said he had cancer. The reason why they let him out is because they'd uncovered new witnesses who were going to stand up in another, like a retrial, and say, I lied at the original court. I lied. I was told to lie. They knew that was coming, so they let him out on compassionate grounds, and they fabricated his cancer.
He's not terminally ill, wasn't he? But I think he's
Yeah.
still
Oh. But what happens in the media is there's this thing where the Americans are really upset that we let him out and he's still alive. It's all theatre. It's just acting.